Now we're recording. So most of the time you'll see I've got the little camera up in the corner so you can see me. That'll just be for the very beginning of the recordings. Most of the time then we'll cut to full screen like this. Have you guys talked about Blackboard at all? Yeah, because your CNC classes, they don't usually have them on Blackboard anymore. It used to be a lot of the program was out there. To get to it, from the main page, just up here on top where it says Blackboard. And just so you know, for this class, Blackboard is not required. It's just that there are a lot of things out there that will be handy for you if you do decide to use it. Oops. Oh, well, let's try this again, apparently. There we go. Username is just your student ID. Your password is the first two letters of your first name, first two letters of your last name, and then the last four of your social security number. So I'm Todd Hoff, so it'd be T-O-H-O. No capitals. So once you get there, you'll get to a page like that that has your classes listed along the right side. Of course, this is Math 355. I'll take you to a spot where there's just a small announcement. All that says is go to course information, because that's where everything that's useful for you is at. The grade book is not in Blackboard for this course. A lot of your CNC courses, that is one of the things that they will put out there is your grade book. I don't like the way the Blackboard grade book calculates scores, so I actually use something called the PeopleSoft grade book, which I'll show you once we get to a point where we need to look at that. Everything that's useful for you in here will be in course information. Here's the syllabus, which we'll look at in a second. My contact information. For those of you who didn't know already, my name is Todd Hoff. All of you can call me Todd. We're all adults, so I don't need to have any titles or anything like that. If you need to call me, there's my extension at the main phone. And I realize that's kind of small to see from your seats, but you can all check it out later if you need to. Probably the best way to get a hold of me, though, is email if you have it available right there, todd.hoff@witc.edu. I have a computer right in the room. I check my email a couple times a day, so there's a good chance I'll get back to you pretty quickly with that. If you have to miss class, I ask that you either send me an email or leave a voicemail. For you guys, if you get a hold of Richard and let him know that you're not going to make it in, that's good enough. You don't have to get a hold of me also, because Richard and I talk, and I'll know. He'll let me know that you're not coming in. Other than that, if you need to come and see me outside of class, my schedule is right here. I'll open that up for you. You guys are 7:30 class, which means I am free before your class every day because there's no classes before 7:30. And I am usually in the building by a little after 7 o'clock. Almost always in the classroom by 7:15. So if you have any questions, you can come in early if you need to. You can see that after your class every day, at least Tuesday through Thursday, I do have another class, but there's 10 minutes in there that we can go through stuff if we need to. And on Fridays, we have the 2-hour class, and I am free right after that. I realize for you guys, most of the time you have to run off to another class right away anyway, so you don't have a lot of time to stand and talk either. Where it says office hours here, on Tuesdays and Thursdays especially, you can see I've got big blocks of office hours. I will generally be in this room. Now, with that said, at 9:30 every day there is another class that's in this room, so I'll be off somewhere else during that time. Sometimes up in my office, not very often because I absolutely hate our office areas. Sometimes I'll sit up here in the lounge at the table and do work, or somewhere else. I'll be around during that time. Generally, though, the first place to look for me is in here if there's not another class in there. And for the most part, if you need to get in touch with me and none of my office hours fit, just talk to me and we can set up an appointment. I can stay late or come in a little early or something, and we'll figure something out. Okay, back up to our syllabus. Okay, this just starts out with the same stuff of who I am and how to get a hold of me. Date and location. Well, you're all here, so you know where to find the class, so we don't have to go over that. Class description. It's kind of a very brief description of the class. This course is kind of an overview of math. Takes kind of your college algebra and geometry and squeezes it together into one class. Now, I'm not trying to scare you by saying that, because when I say geometry, I'm not talking about what your high school geometry with proofs and all that junk is. It's applied geometry, areas, volumes, finding missing dimensions and stuff like that. We're not trying to prove the Pythagorean theorem or anything like that. We're trying to use it and see what it's actually used for something practical. We'll get into some solving equations in algebra and a little bit of simple systems of equations. You'd be amazed when you're doing design and stuff like that how often a simple system of equations comes up. And the next step beyond what you guys are going for, if you get into the material side of it all, material science, there are a lot of applications for systems of equations as far as alloys and stuff like that, and how you mix them and what temperatures to reduce them to and stuff like that. Textbook. You guys should all have, this one is your main text, and it should come bundled with this purple one. Is there anybody that didn't get the purple one with it? Anybody that doesn't have the textbook at all? Cool. All on top of it. Good deal. That little book is mainly just homework problems, problem sets. So I like to grab it. It doesn't cost a whole lot when we bundle it with the big book. I think it costs maybe $12 or $15 extra to get that little book. I think the whole bundle's almost it's over $300 now, isn't it? I apologize for the price of that book, by the way, but it is used for both semesters. So it's not like you're going to have another book expense come spring. That's the only way I can possibly justify it to myself to let you guys use a book that expensive, is that it is used 2 semesters, so we can consider it to be basically half that price. It is a very good textbook. It's actually one that I would keep as a reference book, because the material, it covers pretty much everything you could possibly need in industry in that book. Okay, so everybody's got the textbook. Other than that, it says highly recommended, but I'll be honest with you, I don't see how you could possibly get through the course without it. Is a scientific calculator. If you have one already, chances are it's good enough for the course. If you don't have one already, the one I would recommend you get, let me see if I have one back here. Yes, I do. I would recommend that you get a TI-30. Texas Instruments TI-30. They're about $12 to $15. They do absolutely everything you can imagine. Yes, sir.
How about the one that Mr. Becker wanted us to use for the shop? Is that
I'm not sure which one he has, but it's most likely good enough. Oh, the Sharp? Yeah, that's good enough. That does everything as well. It's there's a couple little things that are a little bit more difficult to enter, but it does everything as well. That one's probably $3 or $4 cheaper is the biggest difference. But yeah, any of them, any of those scientific calculators, as long as that, because that one has the fraction function in it, that makes life a lot easier for you. So yeah, that'll work fine. The biggest thing, I mean, you can probably get through the first half of this semester without it. I know you can't get through the spring semester without it. Once we get into trade, you'll have to have some sort of scientific calculator. Okay, so next here we have a list of the topics for the course. These are the 10 main topics of the course. You can see we start out with fractions, decimals, and conversions, and order of operations, and operations with whole numbers, and all that stuff. If you're looking at this list, and you're thinking to yourself, boy, that's insanely easy, I know all that stuff, I'm going to be bored out of my mind in the class or whatever. There are 2 options. If you've had any other college level math classes, there is a chance that it would transfer in for this credit. So if you've done that, let me know, and I'd be happy to take a look at your other class and let you know if there's a chance that it might transfer. The second option is there is a test out procedure. It costs $20 per credit, so this is a 3-credit class. It would cost you $60 to attempt the test out. If you take the test, there's 2 parts to the test out. There's a first part that has 20 or so questions where you cannot use a calculator, where you have to do operations with fractions, decimals, whole numbers, and do some conversions without a calculator. Then a second section where it's more problem solving and geometry and algebra and stuff like that, where you can use the calculator. But you have to have an 80% on that test to pass. If you get your 80%, you get your tuition for the class refunded, which I think is close to $400 now for this class. And then you have an extra hour of sleep every morning because you don't have to come into this class every morning. If you don't get 80%, you lose your $60 and you're stuck back in here with me. So it's something, $60 is no small deal. So if it's something you're interested in, come and talk to me and I'll go over it in more detail with you so that you have a better idea of what you're looking at. The test out has to be completed by the end of the first week of class. So if it's something you're considering, you need to look at it pretty quickly. And if you do test out and just want to do a little review, you're more than welcome to sit in class and follow along too if you want to make sure you're ready for next semester. Now, just because this is the list of the formal topics of the course does not mean that's everything we're going to cover. That's everything that would be on the test out if you were going to do it. But in the class, I slip in topics that are a little bit more relevant for CNC and machining as well, just to show you some applications. And we might get a little deeper into the algebra with some systems of equations and stuff like that, as I mentioned. Grading information. Your grade is divided into two portions, tests and quizzes, and then homework. 80% of your grade is off those tests and quizzes. There are usually a minimum of 3, but generally I squeeze in a 4th unit test in this course. Those are each 100-point tests, so obviously that's a big chunk of your grade. Quizzes, however, and the unit tests I'll always give you at least a couple days warning that they're coming up. Quizzes, you may not get any warning. Quizzes are actually quite often, usually every 3 or 4 hours of class. There's a really good chance you're going to get a quiz before the end of this week. Almost guaranteed you'll get a quiz before the end of this week. Those can be anywhere from 8 to 20, 25 points, depending on the topic. And I use those to kind of just keep track of if you're staying on top of things. If I give a quiz and the whole class bombs it, that tells me that I have some topics I need to go back over a little bit more. Homework, the other 20% of your grade, homework participation. I'm not going to ever collect your homework that we do at the end of class and say, okay, well, you'll never come in the morning and I'll say, okay, hand in your homework from yesterday and I'm going to grade it. Because, like I said, I have between 120 and 140 students and I just don't have the time to go through and grade every piece of homework. But what might happen for that is a lot of mornings you'll come in and I'll have a problem up on the board for you to start out on. And it might be a review of something we did the previous class. It might be something that's going to lead into a new topic. You come in when 7:30 hits, whether I'm talking or not, just go ahead and start working on that problem. And that's where we'll start our discussion, is with that problem. And then we'll go into if there's any questions in the homework and stuff like that. Also, at the end of class, this is a 5-hour-a-week class, but it's only 3 credits. What that means is it's designed to have 3 hours a week of new material and presentation and 2 hours a week of homework time. So in general, I'll divide that up in each class. I will lecture for about half an hour. And then I'll give you about the last 15 to 20 minutes or so for getting started on your homework. Some of you may be able to finish a good share of your homework during that time, especially here in the first few weeks. But during that 15 or 20 minutes of homework time, every few minutes I'll pick out a problem and we'll just go over it as a class just to make sure everybody is staying up on it. Or some people are a little shy about asking questions, so I'll try to ask some of the questions for you and go through them. I'll pick a problem that might be a little unusual or something maybe a little more difficult or something, and we'll throw it on the board and we'll give it a shot as a class. The other part of the homework grade is participation, which basically means be in class. I know 7:30 isn't the most comfortable time to be doing math, but we've got to do it. And I will start at 7:30 every morning. I have at times been known to lecture to an empty room and record it. And just throw it out there and say, hey, we had class. Catch up on it. So just so you know. I do realize field trips and stuff like that do come up, though. I'm not going to sit here if you guys are on a field trip and do that to you. Standard grading scale. I'm sure you've seen that in your other classes yesterday. You'll see it again, I'm sure. So we don't need to go through that. Other than that, withdrawals or drops or anything like that, one of the reasons why they require you to do the test out in the first week is if you withdraw in the first week, you get a full refund. After that, you get partial refunds after the first week, and I'm not going to get into that because that changes every year, and I don't know exactly what it is. But hopefully none of you have to drop anyway, so it's not a big deal. If for some reason you're getting towards the middle or end of the semester and you're struggling and you want to drop the class and try it again later, just be aware that there is a deadline where you cannot drop after a certain date. I think it's like week 12 or something like that, where you can't drop after that time. So once we get to a mid-semester or so, be aware of your grade, and if that's something you need to do or whatever, let's talk to me and we'll get it done for you. As far as grades are concerned, you can talk to me at any time. I will have your grades. The computer has the percentages calculated instantly as soon as I enter a grade for you. So if you ever want to know how you're doing for grades, just come talk to me at the end of class and I'll pull it up for you and you can see. The rest of this is all policies and procedures and stuff that would be really nice if we didn't have to discuss, but we do. The whole don't cheat, don't steal, don't do any of that stuff. It's here in writing. I don't feel like talking about it, so I'm pretty sure you guys know that you're not supposed to do that stuff. So we're not going to worry. Podcasts, that has to be in there because we do have the classes recorded. So just so you know, they are recorded. They are posted on YouTube. It's not a secure site where only you guys can log into it and see those videos. They are out there for the world to see. So as I said, don't do or say anything in class that you don't want out there for your mom or your sister could do a web search and come up with your class video and watch it. Because I'm sure that happens all the time. There are people out there that download my videos all the time and invite over some friends and pop some popcorn and have a party on the weekend and watch my math videos. I'm sure they're popular. And then this is just a list of the units for the course. Like I said, there's a minimum of 3 units. Sometimes we divide that up into 4 and get a 4th unit test in there. Any questions on procedures, grading, anything like that? Okay. Then I am going to end that recording for the